chicken side with the chickens. I'm running out of food. I gotta go get some. Chicken food here is, I usually get a little over 13 kilograms of food for 500 pesos. I don't know if that's good or bad, but egg laying feed is what I pay. And I've checked, and getting a whole big bag of 50 kilos doesn't save me much money, if any. That's kind of the way they do it here. They don't really price things the way I think the rest of the world does. They don't put profit on stuff they should. Anyways, not what I'm talking about today. I'm going to talk about when I first came to the Philippines with my girlfriend, now wife, and what I did that screwed up. I screwed up a few things. I screwed up probably everything, but a few things specifically. She had a townhouse duplex in Cavite, which is south of Manila, and it's in a pretty developed area and a well-known area for Filipino retirees. They go there and they just chill out. It's just a lot of big housing developments, and she was in one of them. And the development itself was it was okay. It was good. They didn't allow chickens. They didn't allow tricycles. If you were wanting to get in there, you were on a jeepney or a tricycle. You get to the edge of the neighborhood, and they had like a little station for electric tricycles, and so you would get an electric tricycle that would drive you the rest of the way to your house, because it had a really long entry drive, and we've walked it before, but if you've got groceries or other stuff, it was a long walk, a really long walk. You didn't want to walk it with stuff in your hands. You could walk it, but it would take a good 15 minutes to walk at a normal walk pace. And just ignore Kuya, he's doing something. He's scaring up the chickens. So I didn't want to buy a car, and so I wanted to rely on public transpo just to keep my initial costs down. So I didn't know what we were going to be doing, where we were going to be living, anything. It was a test. So we're in Cavite, in that neighborhood, and it's quiet. Everything is good. As far as the other challenges that I've noticed in the Philippines, which would be smelly, pollution, noise, all that. That Cavite, that place had it figured out, with one major exception. So these are 2 and 3 bedroom townhouses, pretty small, but compared to what they're building now, it was huge, because they're building absolute crackerjack boxes now. It's absolute bullshit what they're building now, and they put in temporary walls and other crap, and I've looked at a couple of these places, and it's absolute horse shit. Don't mess with any of these developments. It's not for us, okay? But anyways, her place was okay. The big exception was the motherfucking dogs. There were no controls over how many dogs you could have or how they would be placed. So these fools would have several dogs inside the house and whatever, but there was no control over barking. The barking was constant, non-stop, incessant barking. And to add insult to injury, there was stray dogs walking around, so the stray dogs would come around at night, especially roaming around, and that would get the dogs fired up. So your neighbor dogs would be going ape shit, and nobody makes any effort to stop them and to shut them up. It's insanity. And then add on top of that, these fools would have dogs in crates out front, and that was their permanent life. And there was no rules on that, just whatever space you had. So they would stack them on top of each other, stack these crates on top of each other, these steel cages, and they put a roof over it so the dog gets some kind of relief from the sun, but it's too damn hot. And that was where the dog lived. I don't know what the dog's purpose was, maybe to bark for security, but it's in a cage, and that's his permanent home, and that's where it lives. And so now you got dogs that are outside, not getting any attention, miserable as hell, and barking at the first wind blowing. And so those fools are out there barking at everything. Anybody walks by, the wind blows wrong, somebody sneezes, yeah, like I just did. The barks go, they're nonstop, and of course there's no insulation in the house, in the place, and the windows were absolute bullshit, terrible windows. There wasn't even it was metal on metal when you close the window. There was no seal there. There was no nothing. And it's single pane. And it's the cheapest windows they could find. So you're hearing everything. You're hearing that your neighbors fart in the middle of the night next door. Or even across the street. If they're farting, you're hearing it. So that was a big problem. I wasn't sleeping good. It was a big fucking problem. We even had a window unit air conditioning. And you know how loud those sons of bitches are. It wasn't a mini split, it was a window unit. And it was still enough noise to keep me up. And I'm a light sleeper, but if I've got a window unit going, I'm just hearing that, I can sleep through a damn near train wreck. But not there, not at that place. So the noise there was a problem. And there's a homeowner association, and maybe there could be some complaints, and they could resolve that in a matter of time. I don't know. The water pressure was absolute bullshit there. It's terrible. And I didn't get a tank or do anything about it. We were there for a month or so, and that was enough for me. But yeah, so that sucked. And getting to Manila to fly out sucked. The traffic between Cavite and Manila was pretty rough. Just to give you an example, we pulled in at probably the worst time you could pull in, which was like Christmas Eve or something. And it was 3 hours to basically go nowhere. We finally gave up. We didn't even make it to our house. We finally gave up and got a hotel. We passed by a hotel. I was like, fucking pull in. I'm losing my goddamn mind. And the distance between the Manila airport and Cavite, where her house was like 15 kilometers or maybe 20. It was nothing. And 3 motherfucking hours sitting. And that was my first real exposure to Manila, and I was like, what in the fuck? So I didn't have a great outlook from that moment on, so that didn't help the situation any. I was ready to kill somebody that night. And everybody in the car is just cool. They're just chilling. I'm the only one losing my goddamn mind, watching people walk faster than us, walk past the car walking. I'm like, what the fuck are we doing? So that was a big lesson for me is, you just gotta... You can't show it. You gotta bite your tongue in a lot of situations, and that was a big one that I didn't bite my tongue, and it wasn't a good first impression. From my standpoint, from Manila, and also how this retirement thing was gonna go. So, anyways, no car. We're in Cavite. We're using tricycles to get around, and we're using jeepneys to get around, and in both situations, it don't work. It does not fucking work. If you're a normal size Western dude, 6 feet, 200 plus pounds, I was pulling in, I was 240 at the time. I've dropped 20, so I'm 220. But I dropped 20 pretty fast, actually. It didn't take but a couple salads to make me pissing out my ass to get that weight dropped off and sweating. But yeah, I dropped 20 pounds almost immediately. And don't get a motherfucking salad in the Philippines. I don't care what restaurant you're at. You'll be pissing out your ass. But if you want to get the local bacteria and get some immunity built up, maybe you do that. Or you want to drop some pounds, you can piss out your ass and enjoy yourself with that. So, tricycles, they don't fucking work. They're way too fucking small inside that little sidecar. It ain't made for humans. It's made for fucking 3 foot tall aliens. It's way too small in there, and you want to pack you and your old lady in there. And look, my old lady is a little more plumper than some of the tiniest Filipinos, but she's not big, and she and I would struggle. She'd have to basically kind of sit on my lap, and then that didn't really work either. So you ride on the motorcycle a lot of times, and that's the best spot, is just get on the guy behind the guy on the motorcycle and just ride side saddle or whatever, however you want to ride, and just hold on for dear life. But the jeepneys, oh my god, the jeepneys, I can't even bend over far enough to get in the motherfucker. and try to walk. I'm like knees bent, doubled over, and then trying to walk inside a jeepney. And then when you sit down, most of the time I've got to tilt my head because my head's hitting the roof, and that's fine, okay, whatever. But the roof is typically metal and no padding, and these motherfuckers got no suspension, so you're slamming your head into the ceiling a lot of times. It is the most uncomfortable thing you could possibly imagine between those two vehicles. And then let's say you got a jeepney and it's at the mall. Well, they're not going to send that jeepney on its way until that motherfucker is full. And when I say full, I mean motherfucking full. They have passenger standards from like 1965 when people were smaller. Even Filipinos are bigger now. So they want to pack 24 people on there, and at 22 was too goddamn many. And somehow they find a way. You're sitting on somebody's lap. The people are sitting on people's lap in order to meet the capacity requirements of that jeepney to get it sent on its way. So most of the time, I'm buying 2 extra seats for me and my girl just so there's enough fucking space. And even then, it's not enough fucking space. And if you got packages or luggage or grocery bags or whatever, buy another seat. It's cheap. Just buy a fucking another seat. Or don't even get in the goddamn jeepney. Don't even get into it. Actually, you should get into it so that way you can see how they really live. It's rough. Fucking rough. And I love the jeepneys. I think they're the coolest thing ever. They're loud as fuck and they belch out black smoke, and I think they should keep those vehicles, and then they should do an engine swap and just they got tons of space underneath the chassis. My personal opinion, they could throw a bunch of batteries in there and throw an electric motor in there and give that to the jeepney drivers for free for running their public transportation for so long. The Philippines been riding that train for so long. Their public transportation is absolute dog shit. And they've been on the backs of the jeepney drivers for all this time. So I think they should just let them keep the chassis, let them keep the vehicle, throw an electric motor in there, throw some batteries in there, and then they can just drive that motherfucker. That's the cheapest way to do it, and that kills all the emissions, and that kills the noise, and that keeps it cheap. Keeps it cheap for the people. Those jeepneys are not going very far. They're stopping and going. Don't do regenerative braking. Don't even worry about that shit. Keep it simple. Make it something that the jeepney driver can keep his engine and storage, and if he wants to go back to it, he can. If not, he can just use the batteries and electric motor and make some inspections there so he doesn't take it out and put it in his house, put those batteries in his house and try to run solar or whatnot. But I think that's what they should do. Give it to the drivers for free, because that's a big problem here. They want to roll out these new jeepneys, but the drivers, they don't make enough money. They charge 20 pesos for a ride or whatever it is. They're making no money. And you want to throw them into a loan on a new vehicle. No, just give it to them. You've been riding that train for so long, just give it to them. Back to the subject. We rode public transport for the first 6 months we were here. First it was in Cavite, and then I had to get the fuck out of there. It was too rural for me. It was too deep in it. There was no hotels, no bars, no restaurants. There was a market nearby, but everything else was a ride. And fucking, I already told you, I don't want to get into the tricycle or the jeepney. So then that became, all right, well, we're sitting at home staring at the wall. So that didn't work either. So that was a big problem. So then we moved from there, we moved to Porrock. And that was okay, cool. We got this big ass 5-bedroom house for 20,000 pesos. Old, haunted looking house. It was a bad fucking idea. And it was on a main road that was stinky, smelly, dusty, noisy, and it was right across the street from a church, and I didn't think the Catholic church was a problem, noisy or whatever. I've been in the Middle East. I've been around noisy churches with loudspeakers. This motherfucker had a loudspeaker, and for some of the things like Christmas, they're running that bitch 24 hours a day, and so we're right across the street from it, and we're hearing that shit. And I went over there and asked them to shut that shit down at one point. Probably shouldn't have, but I was like, come on. And they're chanting. They're not even saying anything of value. They're just chanting in another language, but that's okay. But I was just like, hey, this is too fucking loud. Can we turn this shit down? And they looked at me like I was on crack. And they took a break, but then they went right back to it. So there's no fixing that. You can't really talk to them about that. I was like, hey, moms have babies here. Babies are taking naps. They can't nap because you're just going nonstop. Well, I probably shouldn't have done that, but fuck, man, I couldn't sleep. I was on my last reserve nerve, Fuck. So way worse than Way worse than the Muslim country running that loudspeaker. I mean, they never did. They never had the balls to run a 24-hour chant. Anyways, so don't be near a church. And finally, we got a car, and then that changed everything. I should have done that earlier, but I was just, I was waiting it out. I was trying to see it. I was trying to see. And one of the boys on the comments talking about how he's living in Candy over there in Angeles City. I should have done that. I should not have even fucked with Cavite. I should not have fucked with Porak. I should have just went to Angeles, and stuff's in walking distance, good restaurants in walking distance. You can make a decent life there without owning a car. If you own a car, they probably have parking for you. I should have just did that. I bought a bunch of furniture because the place I rented didn't have furniture. I had bought 5 air conditioners because they didn't have air conditioners. It was stupid. I was so invested in that fucking place that then I was stuck. Now what am I going to do? I have to sell all my shit if I wanted to go to Candy and have a furnished apartment. Now I'm stuck. Now I'm stuck living like that. So get them, chicken. So don't do what I did. Be better. Get yourself a furnished apartment in an area where you can walk around and delay buying a car, or just, that was a nice shit right there, dirty butt. Just don't do what I did. I fucked that up. And among them, a lot of other things I probably fucked up, but like bringing sand to the beach, but that's beside the point. I don't think I could have done any better with the Filipina that I have, so I can't complain about that. But yeah, get a furnished apartment. Bring your suitcase and just do it cheap. Just do it. Live in an area where you can walk to the gym, walk to the grocery, walk around. And if you're gonna go somewhere, get yourself a Grab. Take a Grab and don't pack into it. You can pack it. You can pack into a tricycle. Shit, they fit 5 people in them bastards. You can do it. It's just you're not going to be loving it, and you're right there at exhaust pipe level, sucking down all the black exhaust from the jeepney in front of you. So keep that in mind. That's what I screwed up. I totally am 100% on don't buy a bunch of crap. Don't buy a car immediately. Don't buy a bunch of furniture immediately. Don't do all that. Just you got to feel it out. The less commitment, the better. And I didn't do a good job of that. But that's where I wish I would have done a little bit different. So that's all I got to say about that. These chickens they're liking these chats. They're digging it. They don't even care I'm over here. It was cool the other day that one of them was sitting right here next to me while I was chatting. That's my buddy. He's this one right here. And it's a she, but I call it a he. But I can tell that one has more definition in its feathers, more color in its feathers versus the other brown ones, which were Filipino chickens. This one is like purebred from one of the eggs I got off of Lazada. And he's my buddy. She's my buddy. She comes right up to me and lets me pick her up, pet her, whatever. So that was the one that was sitting next to me the other day on the chat. So she better be making me a goddamn egg pretty soon. These guys need to get to work. I gotta get some more nesting boxes going. All right, y'all. Have a good one. Like, comment, subscribe. See ya.